Thank you all for coming. We appreciate everyone taking the time out of their busy lives to be here. Thank you, Beth. When Beth called me and asked me if I would be willing to do this, I said, of course. And one of the reasons that I wanted to do it, I had seen Joe on TV. I had read his op-eds in Fox News. I had seen him on the John Cass podcast and other places. But I wanted to meet him myself because, as I'm sure is true with many of you, if not most or all of you in this room, this story really hits in a very personal way. I have 5 kids. I have a daughter who's 22, is about a year older than Katie would be if she were alive today. And it's the phone call that you never want to get. And so I wanted to be here and to facilitate this conversation, and I look forward to that. Before we start, we want to play a quick, about a 2-minute clip from the documentary that was produced on Katie's story. So let's watch this first.
The things I remember the most from her was her smile, her laugh. She had this infectious laugh, and that honestly, what I miss most is the humor that she had. I'm Joe Abraham. I was born in Chicago, raised in Glenview, Illinois. We live in Glenview, Illinois right now. I'm Katie Abraham's father. Katie was killed on January 19th, 2025 in Urbana, Illinois, visiting friends at the University of Illinois. She was killed by a drunk driving illegal immigrant. She was feisty right from the get-go, and that's kind of who she was. Katie definitely had a spirit, and that spirit was very evident early on in her life. So she was just a bundle of joy, she really was. You know, Katie had this unique personality, this really great sense of humor. She was terrific at reading a room, regardless of who the folks in the room were, whether they were adults or other kids.
I was definitely the fun aunt. I mean, I'm still the fun aunt. So it was always good times with Katie and I, and always joking and talking about things that you shouldn't talk about with a young person, but she always got it. She had an advanced sense of humor.
Everyone felt seen with her. If there were kids that were a little bit shy and a little bit slower to get involved, she would make sure she'd coax them in and she'd help them through that. She was really good at reading that stuff, and she was really good at, really understanding who's struggling and who's not. I'm telling you, the way she read a room, I rarely see that in anyone, even adults. We get a call from the detective in the morning, early morning, Sunday, the 19th. And, Katie's died in a tragic car accident.
So how many of you in this room are hearing about Katie's story for the first time tonight? Raise your hand if this is the first time you've heard about it. Okay, so a few. So Joe, for those who are here, talk a little bit more about that. And I know I felt bad having to ask you to sort of relive this because I know it's hard. But that call that you got and what transpired after that.
So we get this call, and it's so devastating that you can't put it in words. We literally had to hang up the phone, and I had to pull myself together. When you get this call and it's a detective and they say the first thing they tell you is your daughter, Katie, has died. And so hang up, just gather myself, call the detective back and say, oh, okay, what happened? Are you saying she's dead? Yes. And then you're just, the things that go through your mind, and I can't put it in words, the feeling, it's a battle every day. But here's the thing. So Katie and her sister, 1 year apart, Lauren's in college. So now we can't even process this. The first thing we're thinking about, because Lauren's already texting us, hey, Katie's phone hasn't moved, she hasn't gotten, so we're like, oh no, like we gotta pull ourselves together. We have to drive up to where she's at college. We have to drive up there and tell my other daughter that her sister's dead. I don't want her to find out in any other way. So we pulled ourselves together. We got in the car. 5.5 hours in the snowstorm in January in Michigan. What haunts me to this day, in my sleep, is her look and her response when we came in and told her sister was dead. We hold her, we're with her, we're helping her. Katie's mom, my ex-wife, stayed there with her. Michelle and I drove back because we have a son here as well. So we drove the 5.5 hours back that same night. The longest drive you've ever, just silence. So to explain how the feeling is, Tom, is you're in this cold desert, like deserts can get cold, and it's desolate. There's just nothing there. It's just barren, and you're trying to find your way without Katie. So you're trying to find your new life without your youngest daughter, who brought so much joy and who was such a beautiful person. So that's where we're at. We're still there. We're trying to get back up to some kind of peak where we were before, but it's not happening yet. It's so devastating. It's so gut-wrenching that, it's the only way I can put it. I don't know how else to put it in words, but it's something no one should ever have to go through. And it was something completely avoidable. So we have not only loss of Katie in such a violent, horrific way, right? They're at stoplight. She's on the passenger driver's side, back seat. At a stoplight, 80 miles an hour, almost 80 miles an hour, just rammed right into the back, kind of where she was sitting. And she died on the scene. And I guess a lot of the frustrations that I have watching only a few states that battle ICE and put out all this misinformation and this utter nonsense, as far as I'm concerned, where I sit, there's no two-side compassion here, right? It's only this one side. My story and Katie is inconvenient. Illinois would love to erase us. When you talk about that, and you only see these images on the news that they want you to see. I don't think I saw an image of my daughter's car. That wasn't really the car, but it was on video as well because it was in front of that hospital. But no one's really interested in how my daughter's car had to be pried open like a little tuna can and drag her dead body out of there. No, we care about someone who broke every rule in the book and is doing nothing but wrong things, and they get pulled in by ICE. That's a story they want to hear. So for me, we've got this other level of just salt in the wound, I guess, is what I could say.
And so we'll talk more about that, I think, a little bit later, about sort of the political dynamic of this. But let's talk about, so the driver was here illegally, had a communicable disease, had HIV, had a driver's license, but couldn't speak English or write English or Spanish. And I believe had been deported once before, made his way back in the country.
Yes.
And so this was an instance, I think, of something that was preventable. But take me to the moment where you decided that, you know what, that's it. I'm not gonna sit quietly anymore. I'm gonna go out there and be an advocate. And you've been a sort of a tireless advocate. I see you all over the place. You're doing these events, even as gut-wrenching as it has to be for you. But when did that moment kick in, and why?
June 12th, 2025. No one would probably have heard of me, but we were at, Michelle, my wife, and I were at the Oversight Committee hearings, which was set up through the Oversight Chairman, James Comer, and then the American Border Story facilitated us going out there. J.B. Pritzker, Kathy Hochul, and Governor Walz were testifying in front of this committee hearing on sanctuary policies. Real quick, a funny story. Michelle and I, we were there the day before. It was just really kind of crazy. We were meeting everybody. It was sort of overwhelming. And we're like, let's just go to dinner. She goes to Washington, D.C. for business once in a while. So she found a little place away from everything. So we're about to eat our dinner, and then at the table, like literally right there, Governor Walz and his entourage sit down for dinner. So this is what's happening. So I got up and I said, you know what? And she's like, don't. I'm like, I'm not gonna get crazy. I got up and I said, Governor Walz, I'm Joe Abraham. Hey, nice to meet you. Want you to know, spent a lot of time in Minnesota growing up. Loved it there. Cousins were there. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, and I'll see you tomorrow. He's like, you'll see me tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be there. My daughter was killed by an illegal alien in Sanctuary State, Illinois. He got up, he gave me like a little hug. His chief of staff gave me his card, whatever they can do. They're here for me. So I'm like, okay, great. We had a nice little discussion, fine. The next day we're at the committee hearing, and as if he didn't even know me. But worse than that, this wasn't even my governor. So I'm sitting 10 feet away from Governor Pritzker. And what I wanted was just an acknowledgement. Joe, things got a little out of control. We're pulling it in. We're gonna get it fixed. Hang tight with us. You're a lifelong Illinoisan. Hang tight with us. Just something. I mean, no one would have ever heard from me. He walking by, Jan Chakowski walking by. No one wanted to talk to. No, I'm looking for anyone to talk to on the Democratic side. We are a Democratic state. We are run by one. So I don't really care to talk to, well, I don't want to say I don't care to, but I'm not interested in talking to the people who have no power in this state. I want to talk to the people who decided what happened, right? So completely ignored. I felt Katie got completely disrespected. We get home. We have this room set up for Katie now. We remodeled. Her beautiful marble urn is there. It's on a marble table. We have this room that we can just be with her, right? And it's just a beautiful setting. And I was there, and you know, in the chair in front of her urn, and kind of reading the Bible. And I promised her and myself what they did, the disrespect and the just uncaring. He's not a caring man. He's not a compassionate man. He's a self-centered. It was very clear. And it's very clear how he runs this state so arrogantly. There's no service. There's no humility in anything he does. So I promised that day to me and Katie, I will talk to anyone who will talk to me now about this. And I will speak as much as I have to. I don't know how long I'll go, but as long as I have to, I will. That's what that's why I'm doing this.
So I know in January, I think January 10th of this year, you released this letter to J.B. Pritzker asking a whole host of questions. You requested that he reply by January 19th, which was the 1-year anniversary of her death, and didn't hear anything. What do you want? If J.B. Pritzker were sitting right there and you could talk to him face to face and he was actually looking at you and listening to you, what would you say to him? What do you want him to do?
So before I answer that, the letter, right? So some of the news reporters that I was working with reached out to his office. Now, Midway Blitz, I okayed Katie's name in her honor. Midway Blitz was a targeted. They knew exactly who they wanted. All Illinois had to do was say, these criminals, and they were criminals, is who we're looking for. If they work with us, it doesn't have to look like this in the streets. I know why it has to look like this. We can talk about that later if you want. I know exactly why he needs it to look like this. But that was Katie's thing. Now, Katie's mom disagreed with Midway Blitz. She didn't say anything about how the process was for immigration here that J.B. Pritzker's put into state, just that Midway Blitz she maybe didn't agree with. So his office responds to the reporter and says, well, you don't have the full story. The mom's against all of this. Well, no, she's not against all that. She was against maybe this operation and Katie's name being used on it, but I had a different perspective. That doesn't absolve you from answering to me. Am I not a citizen here? Are you not my governor? You're gonna hide behind a grieving mom? You're gonna hide behind, to me that's, so if he was sitting here, I'd say, number one, that's a very cowardly thing to do. You need to cowboy up a little bit. I'm a father, look at me in the eye and talk to me like a father, okay? That's what I tell him first. To hide behind a grieving mom, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. That's one. Two is, I want to know what your process is. You cannot be this incoherent on purpose. You cannot say, because he was in Congress and he screaming at the Republican side, immigration is your responsibility. Immigration law is your responsibility. Enforcement is your responsibility. I have nothing to do with that. And then the incoherent part comes in as he says, well, I nullify what they do and we'll do our own thing. Well, what are you talking about? What did you exactly do? You kick the side door open in the middle of the night and let, 3, 4, 5, 600,000 people, you have no idea who they are, you're just running around the state now because you lost 400,000? I would say, why couldn't you do the hard work to understand why people are leaving this state, productive citizens, and then your only solution is not to do the hard work to understand why they're leaving and how we can reverse that. Your hard work was to just open the door and let anyone in? My guy who killed Katie, HIV in the communities, was he as reckless with his HIV as he was behind the wheel? I promise you he was. He had multiple partners, we know that. Okay, so that's one. You didn't, no health screening, clearly. Two, he was using an alias. He had identity fraud. He was previously reported. DHS knew he wasn't who he says he was when they apprehended him in Texas. So where was the minimal vetting on that? Look, we are a family of immigrants. My family came from a third world country. We get it. Not like this. I don't care who you are, not like this. There's a way to do it, and there's an orderly way to do it, and it saves, because what did they do for this guy? He should be 30 years, I doubt in Illinois he will, but he got a 30-year plea deal. He'll probably serve way less than that. But what did you do for him? He came in here, couldn't speak English, couldn't speak Spanish, couldn't write, couldn't read, had no job prospects. Maybe he was doing identity fraud to get by, had HIV. You wouldn't even help this guy treat him. So Katie gets killed, we get a life sentence, and he's in jail. Nice work, Governor, nice work. And how many other victims? I can only speak to Katie. And not everyone dies. No, there are other types of victims. And you ought to speak to every single one of them when your policies fail so severely.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
Today in Savannah, Georgia, I don't know how many people saw this story, but ICE pulled over a person who was here illegally driving, was without a license, had been cited without a license. He pulled over and then he took off, pulled a U-turn, ran a red light, smashed into a special education teacher and killed her.
Yeah, I did see that.
In January of this year, there was a case in North Carolina where a 20-year-old male and a 19-year-old his girlfriend, they were in a car, very similar to Katie actually. It was like 11 o'clock at night, driving, and a guy who's driving here illegally, crossed the center line, head-on collision, they both died. You belong now to this sort of tragic club.
Yeah.
Of people who have suffered. And I just wonder, do you ever come in contact with any of these other angel parents, and what's that like? And then to the question, the broader question, why do you think it is that there is such compassion that J.B. Pritzker feels the need to release a statement when Renee Good dies or Alex Preddy dies, but won't even utter Katie's name? And we see this in case after case after case where people who are victimized by people who are here illegally. And I think, honestly, I think the vast majority of people, even Republicans, would say, my gosh, it's a tragedy that Renee Good died. It's a tragedy that Alex Preddy died. You may have disagreed with maybe what they were doing, but they certainly didn't deserve to die for it. But that compassion, when it's flipped around, J.B. Pritzker is not some, left-wing radical, YouTuber. He's the governor of one of the biggest states in the country and can't even express any compassion toward victims of people who were harmed by others who were here illegally. Why do you think that is, and what is behind that dynamic?
So the first part is through the American Border Story and AmericanBorderStory.com, I have met a lot of angel families. In our situation, fentanyl situation, everything related to the open border. And it's tragic. We sit there and can you imagine we should be joyful talking about our children. And we have to sit here and talk about the pain and the utter the way the state, or it's not only Illinois, obviously, that we met, but the complete inconvenience we are to them, that they would like to just erase us or go away or don't say anything. It's for the greater good. We don't know what the greater good is, right? But it's a tragedy. It saddens me. It's disheartening, because even if it's not an angel family, I mean, you had Governor Pritzker one time in the news. I don't know if you saw this. He's in Chicago saying, well, we're doing good. There's only 400 or 500 murders a year. I can't believe we're doing good. It's time for you to get out of the way because you can't get it done, right? It's just like all these other, honestly, I'm gonna go off a little tangent here, because you got the Laura Fines, I got a story on that, and then you've got like this Jennifer Gong Gershowitz, you got this Raja guy who the only thing I can tell is he has a big long name, so he ought to be our senator. And they're all fighting. I don't know what they're fighting. If they've been fighting for this long, I don't know if they're shadowboxing in their house, they're fighting something, but here's the place we're at, right? Maybe we should be done with the people fighting, because they're not fighting, but maybe we should be done with the people fighting and get people who can cooperate and work together, and enough of this fighting this and fighting that. It's amazing to me. But why Pritzker, couple of things. Why JB Pritzker why he's doing with this with ICE? He needs ICE. He knows ICE has to go into the communities. He's revved up everyone so much. And he knows that ICE, to go get 1 or 2 people, they got to send out 10 to 20, right? Because they got to set their perimeter. People are coming after him. There's no help from the state. So there's got to be a big presence. He loves that. He loves it because he gets in the front of the microphone and he starts talking about it. If you work with ICE, they wouldn't need to do this. I met with ICE. I don't know if anyone, I went down to Chicago. We probably talked to a bigger group than this, Michelle and I, thanked them, met them. You want to talk DEI and diversity? I've never seen a more diverse workforce in my life. And they all cooperated with one another. They all got along with one another. They were terrific, professional. I can't believe it. I go, they ought to come here and prop this organization up to say, look at this. This is how you work in a diverse group. Then I went down to Broadview. Anyone know who Broadview is? The facility there. Went down to Broadview. Go talk to those guys. Okay. That's who we're standing behind? That's who the governor's like? I can't even explain the night and day difference between the folks at ICE and DHS and the people I saw at Broadview. I couldn't believe it. So yes, JB Pritzker needs this. They need the congressional apportionment, so they have to let in, because bodies, it's just bodies. Unfortunately, we got to find a way to incentivize bad people like a JB Pritzker, like a Laura Fine, like a Jennifer Gong Gershowitz. We have to find a way to incentivize bad people to do the right things, because we're just not there yet. This is nonsense. And if you want to hear the Laura Fine story, I can't believe it.
Raise your hand if you want to hear the Laura Fine story.
So I'm assuming everyone knows who Laura Fine is, right? She is my Illinois state senator. Jennifer Gong Gershowitz is my Illinois House representative. Right. Nothing from them, zero. I run into her at one of these events, thanks to Jim. So I talked to her. I said, oh, hey, Joey Brand, whatever, she's telling me. I go, how do you feel about sanctuary cities? Oh, we're doing everything to push back on Trump, this, that, and the other. I said, okay, well, I'm Joey Brand. My daughter's Katie. Are you aware of her? Oh, no, I don't know your story.
No way.
I go, I am pretty much done talking to you. I'm so disgusted as you myself. Oh, wait. That's a girl from Columbus South. Oh, come back. I'm like, okay, because I was going to leave. I'm like, you're not even worth talking to. I can't believe it. So she comes back, and I said, I really don't have the stomach to talk to you right now, because I want to be calm. But you're a disgusting person. So she takes my phone number because she wants me to. So she gets my number. She calls me, to her small credit. And she says, well, do you know this other story? Yeah, I do. I'm going to work on drunk driving. Yeah, that's a problem. I'm with you on that. I want more sanctuary. She pawns me off to this Terry Bryant, who's a state senator from down south. All of a sudden, I'm dealing with her. So I call back to Laura. I'm like, what? She's not answering my calls. Finally, we get back. We do a FaceTime. I'm like, why am I talking to this person? She's down Southern Illinois. She's like, well, she could help because she worked with the Department of Corrections. I'm like, I don't want to. What is wrong with you people? Why are they voting you people in? I can't believe how bad you are. And so she said, well, what I'd like to do is honor Katie on the Senate floor, and would you be for that? I said, I'd only be for that when we're signing the bills to change your awful policies. Then I'll be for that. Otherwise, this is nonsense. You're trying to get away cheap and easy, and I'm not going to do that. So she's ignored me since. And then she put out this double down on sanctuary policies. You see this law she presented that ICE enforcement can't get local police jobs or anything like that.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did not see that. So back to JB Pritzker, because he is the sort of main player in this.
Yeah.
Why do you think he could not? He could still have all of his policies, he could still do all of those things, and he could still say a kind word to you. What does that cost him? I don't understand why he's not willing or able to do that for some reason.
In my view, he doesn't care about the voters. Let's be very clear on that. He doesn't need the voters. He doesn't need any of it. But we'll keep sending them back in, so good for us. But he doesn't need the voters. He's not a caring and compassionate guy. He's someone that was born on third base and thought he hit a triple. So he's arrogant. There's no humility in what he does. Because I'm with you. Even though your policies are so messed up and cause death and destruction, what's wrong with saying, I'm 10 feet away from you, stepping up for 3 seconds saying, sorry for your loss.
Right.
Doesn't
cost him anything.
Doesn't cost him anything.
Right.
Nothing.
So how many people here, just have a show of hands, how many people are in favor of legal immigration? Raise your hand. Okay. And it is the province of Congress to make the laws, despite the fact that we've had a number of governors, senators, mayors who have decided not to follow federal law. That's maybe a different discussion. What would you like our immigration policy to be? If you talk to Congress, they don't seem to ever be able to fix it and find the will, because there's always this fight over, border enforcement and some sort of path to citizenship, which people on the right call amnesty. There doesn't ever seem to be enough common ground to get that passed. What do you think would be the ingredients of a border policy that you would like to see?
So
An immigration policy.
Are you asking me basically when Governor Pritzker nullifies it and decides he's doing his own?
Let's assume that let's assume they pass a federal law and he follows it.
He follows it. Okay, yeah. So my parents immigrated from the country of Iraq in the early 60s, legally. Now, here's the difference that I see when my dad used to talk to us. And think about this too, by the way, and I didn't tell you this. So my dad died on December 26, 2024 at 90 years old. Him and Katie were like this. 3 weeks later, I lose my daughter. Wow. Okay, so I couldn't mourn my dad. I can't even get there. Okay, so that's another thing. Anyway, so what I would say is when I think of that, I think of my dad, his generation, the folks that came legally. They didn't come here and start waving the Iraqi flag and make a claim on this country. They came here because he believed in what was happening here. He wanted to be a part of it. He had the spirit of it. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He stood in line, he paid his dues, he studied, he assimilated, he didn't lose his culture. He still had things at home, right? But he was here to do what you're supposed to do when you come here. He wasn't here looking for a handout. He used to tell me, actually, I'd hang myself in the garage before I took a penny out of the government. That's what he would tell me. And don't you ever do that either, and I never have. So I see this generation now, and I guess I'm just so used to my dad and like his generation that he was appalled before he died how it was happening. This is not the way it goes. You don't come to this country, in his view, and because you don't wave the Iraqi flag doesn't mean you've turned your back on. You can still have that connection, But you're here in the U.S., you pick up the U.S. flag and you wave that. And that was the difference that I see that. So that's what I want to see. I want to see the right reasons. You're here because you want to be here. You're here because it's the right. You believe in what's going on in this country, and you don't bring. Look, he came up with a third one. Talk about tribal. They're trying to make this country tribal. He used to tell me, you know why Iraq doesn't work? Why? Because you don't hire the best. You hire who's in your tribe. You marry who's in your tribe. Everything that happens is in your tribe. It's not the country. It's your tribe first. I don't know if that's what we want to be. Then we're headed down a weird direction.
All right, we've got just a couple minutes left before we go, and I do want to bring this back to Katie and her story, and how, now that people have heard her story, what comes next for you? How can we, can people in this group, how can they contribute? How can they honor her? How can they share her story? What is next?
What I would like to see is people sort of understanding that who we're sending to Springfield are not behind. We never in our lives thought we would get this phone call. And I'm sure everyone sitting here never thinks they're gonna get that phone call. If you, God forbid, ever get that phone call, I promise you this one thing I promise you, the people you send to Springfield are not behind you. They will never be behind you. They will interfere with you. They will shut you up. They will ignore you. These are not the people we gotta send. So I would hope, and I want to tell the story because our uncompassionate people that we send to Springfield have got to change. It can't be this.